Hey guys, welcome to the first post-Nationals edition of Quackling with Cesar. Is that what I call it? Oh no, Cesar Quackles games. Okay. This game right here is the one that I played against Will Anderson at Nationals. Actually, I played two games against him. I think this was this was the second game, and I think it was like game number 22 or 23 of the tournament. I was actually doing pretty well. I was playing him on like table 2 or 3, and I'd been playing at the top tables of Nationals for most of the day, and actually most of the last few days. So, yeah, let me talk about Will for a second. Will won the National Scrabble Championship 2 years ago in 2017, and he's like one of the top players of the game. He's definitely like, not only is he one of the best TWL players, but he's also one of the best Collins players. And he seems to be able to be one of the only players besides Nigel Richards that can keep both dictionaries straight in his head. Now, check out his awesome picture over here. This is the picture he uses for the national stream, and he seems like, he's kind of looking at this camera like, oh, I'm the best player ever. Look how smart I am. But if you know Will, he's like the nicest guy. So it's just kind of a fun juxtaposition here. So anyway, let's get to it. So he starts with this rack ABA, and right away I have a pretty decent comeback. You can probably see Qualm right away. The only problem with Qualm obviously is that it can set up potentially a big hook like a Y or an S, and then his next play OI indicates to me that there's a possibility that he has like a very good rack, and if he hits over here, it can score a ton of points, and it could even be a double for like over 100. So in my next play, I might have overreacted a little bit. I have two choices. I could have done UPO up here or UPO down here. I ended up choosing this UPO, which I thought was much better defensively than the one that's on the horizontal lane. Basically, I wanted to block this hook, and I also thought, like, if he doesn't have an N, it might actually be kind of hard for him to bingo. I mean, he could bingo through the A or under the A, but it won't be as many points. So I just kind of wanted to keep this part closed. But the problem with this UPO is that it's actually really easy to overlap for a ton of points. So I just completely did not like think of that. Like, I should have actually thought that this UPO has many like defensive issues. It's actually not as defensive as I thought. As a matter of fact, it is less defensive than putting UPO up here. And the best play that Quackle found was actually unrope at 4G. Just play 6 tiles off over here, keeping an A, and score a bunch of points. And just strategically, that seems like the better play. Just burn this rack. It's not the best rack, but there's no point in really fishing. Like AENR is a pretty strong leave, but it's nothing to write home about, I guess. So yeah, so he overlaps it, and it doesn't score too much. But here, I have actually a really strong rack. I have A, R sign. This doesn't make any bingos, and at least in TWL, I don't think it makes anything in Collins. Let's check real quick. Yeah, nothing in Collins either. But I could do something like BA, make an AL for 8 points, and I considered doing that. But the main problem with that, to me, was that if I do draw something, he can maybe even block it. Like, it won't fit here, and maybe his next turn he'll make it so that he'll block the bingo. So I was kind of worried about that, so I decided to just play PIA, just be super open. Quackle likes playing AAL. I guess he just thinks I should score more points, and maybe PIA is not a guaranteed bingo. So for only 5 points, it might not be worth fishing. So he plays Axel. So now I do get my bingo, but he gets his bingo back. So that whole trade-off may not have worked out as well as I wanted it to. But luckily I drew the Z. So I actually could play the Z right here, but I figured I could just save it for another turn and just play Yao for 41. He ends up bingoing again, but now I have the Z, and he scores a bunch of points here. And here's like one of the most interesting plays of the game. And actually, this play to me is very, very interesting because I think it might work differently against players of different ability. So the most obvious thing that anybody could think of right here would be NOB, and that is what I played, but I'll explain why that might not be the best play.
So actually, if I do NOB here, you can see that like I'm still down about 17, and I basically have two lanes to bingo through. I have the I here, and I have something over here. Those are the most realistic lanes. There's also something through the L, but that's very hard to hit, and everything down here is also very hard to hit. So those are really the only two realistic lanes. So the problem with doing NOB is that it's actually really easy to block both lanes by just going parallel, by just going through the I. And actually, that did occur to me, but I couldn't really think of anything else. Like, Quackle likes albino maybe, but it still doesn't sim as well as knob. So this is actually one of those like racks where I might have a question about like what actually is the best play here. He ends up doing whiting. So the only way that this play could be bad for him is if I have a bingo started in an A, or if I bingo through the W. And it just so happens that I got the bingo starting with an A. Just very lucky. He does sicked, and I drew the second blank. So now I'm in like great position to win all of a sudden. I do fat. I could have burned the blank, but I decided not to. I think it's worth keeping the blank. He does tune to open up another lane. And I have this rack here, and I kind of got scared. I ended up playing frat. Quackle likes playing Arvo. I'm not actually sure why. The main reason it seems to be is because it actually bingos a lot more than my play. And if I play Arvo, I keep all this part of the board open, and then maybe with my FRD, I'll get to bingo through the U or the T. Whereas if I play frat, my bingo chances are less. But I'm just worried about him bingoing. But maybe it's okay for me to leave this open because I have the blank. I have to be aggressive, and the game is very close still. So yeah, I'm not sure. I still don't like Arvo that much, but I don't know. It also blocks like the Z. Like you could have like Zoe trope or something insane like that, but that's unlikely. He opens another lane here, and if you look at what's left, the only bingo that I could see, and I actually spent a long time looking through this. Like first of all, there's nothing through the T, so there's nothing to worry about there. Yeah, there's nothing through the T. Actually, let me put it in build mode. Yeah, nothing longer than 7. So I don't think there's anything through the I either. Yeah. Oh, sorry, through the U, not the I. But the obvious bingo that I saw was erectile through the C. I'm not sure if there's anything through the... Yeah, there's nothing through the I. There's nothing through the N, I believe. Let's look through the N real quick. Oops. Tree line. Yeah, tree line is the only bingo that works with this rack through the N. So, erectile. Yeah, erectile is the only bingo I saw. So, of course, I decided to block it. But I may have been... I may not have thought this through properly, because if I play hump and he has erectile, that means that I can actually draw a triple out, like derivate or something like that. So I should actually like have done the math. I should have written it out. It'd be like the worst case scenario for him to have erectile is that I bingo out. So with a giant play a lot of the time. So like, yeah. So that's something I should have thought about. But you know, I got scared and I'm like, let me block erectile. I keep the blank and then I'll score next turn. He does one more desperation fish, and I end up just playing Virid. I should have probably played rump, but I was just happy to see something. I was nervous. I'm playing the best player in the world, or one of the best players in the world, and he does his TE over here, and I end up going out. So anyway, that was my game against Will. I think it was a pretty fun game. It was definitely very nerve-wracking. And after winning it, I think I'm back like in 5th or 6th place at Nationals, but this would be one of my last wins of the tournament. I ended up like not doing too well in like the last 7 games or so. I think I only won like 2 of the last 7 or something like that, or maybe like 3 of the last 7. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll have some more games. Perhaps one in which I actually lose a game. I keep showing you guys these wins, but believe it or not, I also lose a ton of games, and those aren't as much fun sometimes to go over, but maybe I'll get used to that.